Dr. Phil is getting bashed on Twitter because of a recent tweet he put out. I want to read that to you. He says, if a girl is drunk, is it okay to have sex with her? Reply yes or no at Dr. Phil, #TeenAccused. No, it's not unlikely for him or uncommon for him to do something like this. Usually he asks questions on Twitter to get ideas on, the production of the show, which angle should they go at it. And I did not find that tweet offensive at all, because I did not see him as someone who's advocating for having sex with a drunk girl. I think that he was just simply asking a question to start a very important discussion that people should have. And that discussion is, where is that line? How drunk can she be? When is it non-consensual? And it's important. It's important to discuss these things. Instead, people responded with tweets like this. If Dr. Phil is drunk, is it okay for him to tweet? Another person wrote, Dr. Oz was saving lives today and Dr. Phil is trying to hook up with drunk girls. Where's Oprah? She needs to have an emergency team meeting. Another person tweets, if a person is a misogynist, is it okay to just refer to him as Dr. Phil from now on? #Dr. Phil questions.
I think these tweets are mental. Like, why do you think that Dr. Oz is Dr. Phil, Dr. Oz is the good guy. Dr. Phil is trying to hook up with drunk girls. What an unbelievable assertion or assumption based on that question. And then the other person is saying, like, misogynist. Look, I'm going to go way over the top on this in a second, okay? But let's give you one more person, Carmen Rios. She's a former college sexual assault activist. She started a whole petition on change.org. And she writes, even though he took the tweet down, I don't know why they took the tweet down. Okay, Dr. Phil should of course admit his error in judgment, but he needs to go a step further. Of course, it's not enough. I'm asking Dr. Phil to produce a show that shines a light on survivors of rape and sexual assault and begin a national conversation about the specifics of consent, which includes not raping people while they are drunk or otherwise unable to consent.
And by the way, he very well may have been planning to do just that. His tweet indicated nothing. It was a question, and it's totally fine to ask that question because you want to see what kind of response you're going to get. You want to start the conversation, and yeah, maybe that's a provocative way to start the conversation, but to just go out and call him a misogynist based on that question is ridiculous.
So we were going to have a discussion about Dr. Phil being guilty or not guilty, but it appears that we largely agree he's not guilty, right? So instead, I'd like to change the conversation to this. Is it okay to hook up with drunk girls? And my answer is an overwhelming yes.
Okay, so of course there are caveats there too.
Of course there are. If they're incapacitated or unconscious, the answer flips to an of course no, right? Of course you don't hook up with a girl who can't make an informed decision, who's not just unconscious, but you feel can't make a real decision. She's not herself, right? And I've been in a situation where a girl was just too drunk. And I was like, no, I think you're too drunk, and I didn't hook up with her. So I think I'm in an okay position here to comment. But if you're going to eliminate every drunk girl or drunk guy from hooking up, you've just eliminated 98% of the hookups in this country. So this idea of saying if a girl is drunk, now all of a sudden Carmen Rios is saying every drunk girl, that's it, it's rape or sexual assault. I think you're belittling what rape is. I think you're doing great damage to your cause. And so far, by the way, the petition is lighting it up. It's got 350 supporters. Okay, so look, I'm bothered by this. I don't know if I'm alone. I don't know how people feel about it. I'm curious, but I think that we're way overstretching. She's talking about Steubenville. Steubenville, dude, they're carrying the girl. She's unconscious, and they're making fun of how she looks like she's dead. That's not the same as a girl is a little buzzed, so my God, if you hooked up with her, it would be rape. I think that they're going the other way in extremeness and insanity.
I mean, think about like traditional dating habits throughout the world. I mean, you go out on a date, you get drinks. I mean, that's the whole thing. You do it to like loosen up, and obviously not to the point where you don't know what's going on, but you do it because it gives you a little bit of that liquid courage to get a little frisky. Like, that's what people do, and that's totally fine. To say like women who drink can't control themselves and men should not have sex with women as soon as they have a few drinks, that's questionable. Let women decide for themselves. There is a moment where a woman consents. And I think that sometimes it could reach like this gray area where it's difficult to determine whether or not the consent is given. That's when you should abstain. You should not have the sex, right? Mm-hmm. But just because a woman had a few drinks and she's feeling a little buzzed or whatever, it doesn't mean that like that's rape. And you're totally right. People that say that that's rape belittles real rape, and that's the real problem.
Yeah, and then no one believes you. I mean, look at the original question Dr. Phil asked, which, by the way, was, of course, a producer and not Dr. Phil, right? If a girl is drunk, is it okay to have sex with her? So first of all, as Anna pointed out, he's just asking the question. He didn't say it was okay. But second of all, I'm saying, yes, it is okay, okay? Obviously, with the giant caveat of how drunk is she? But if she's just drunk people hook up all the time. And if you call that rape, then no one's going to believe you when there's an actual rape.